Welcome to SVGTV News for Tuesday, May 12th, 2020. I am Rochelle Batiste with the details. Nurses are essential to healthcare systems worldwide, and today, International Nurses Day, Minister of Health, Wellness and the Environment, Luke Brown, took the opportunity to salute and thank these healthcare professionals for their work and sacrifice. International Nurses Day 2020 is celebrated under the theme, Nurses, a Voice to Lead, Nursing, a World to Heal, to Health. Praising nurses for their work, Minister Brown said the current global corona pandemic illustrates their importance to healthcare.
I saw them in action as recently as Saturday at Port Kingston operating health stations set up for the return of Vincentians from cruise ships. They are doing screening at our ports of entry, carrying out disease surveillance activities, taking samples from patients for testing, involved in the clinical care and treatment of persons who tested positive for COVID-19, and providing many other very important services. Every day, many of them put their lives at risk to keep us safe. We appreciate their sacrifice. These nurses are bringing honor, glory, and credit to their profession and functioning in the true spirit of mentors like Florence Nightingale and Mary C. Cole. These nurses are giving life to the theme under which International Day of Nurses is being commemorated this year. Nurses, a voice to lead, nursing the world to health. They nurse us to health and help us to stay in health from birth until death. And we raise our glasses to all these hard-working nurses today.
The health minister said there are many nurses specialized in various fields attached to the Ministry of Health, and that the government remains committed in supporting the nation's nurses with their endeavors.
Our nurses are in demand all over the world. We are in this position because of the investment the government made in nurse training programs, which saw trainee nurses even receiving a stipend. We remain committed to ensuring that nursing education in this country continues to generate an adequate supply of health and nursing professionals. The government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines is also committed to providing the best possible conditions of employment for nurses, including through appropriate compensation packages. We have just resolved the matter of outstanding allowances to nurses in the communities. We are addressing several issues that have an impact on the profession. Nurses, you can be assured that we would always look out for your best interests. We will support you in the execution of your duties, and we expect you in turn to always put your best foot forward for your patients, commit yourselves to duty, and strive for the highest heights of professional excellence.
The coronavirus pandemic has led to the cancellation of many events locally, including activities in celebration of International Nurses Day. The health minister highlighted one way in which he will be showing his gratitude to the hard-working nurses of the nation.
In recognition of International Nurses Day, I will visit nurses at their workplaces and give them a special token of appreciation. A simple keyring. I have a sample copy of it here. A simple keyring with various messages. SVG loves nurses. Nursing the world to health, which is taken from the theme of International Nursing Day, and nurses are essential. Let us all value and cherish our nurses and thank them for the role they play in the delivery of our health services. Happy International Nurses Day. We are raising a toast to all these faithful servants of humanity today. Thank you.
The Division of Nursing Education of the SVG Community College also joins with the rest of the world in saluting nurses on International Nurses Day and on the 200th anniversary of the birth of Florence Nightingale. In a news release, the division commends all nurses in SVG and all over the world for their extraordinary work in saving lives and for their bravery on the front line of the fight against the coronavirus pandemic. According to Dean of the Division of Nursing Education at the SVG Community College, Beverly, Liverpool, the COVID-19 pandemic is a stark reminder of the vital role that nurses play in the healthcare system and the true value of frontline workers such as nurses. She said today more than ever, the Division of Nursing Education celebrates the part that nurses have played and will continue to play in our lives as SVG and other countries around the world continue to deal with the COVID-19 pandemic crisis and its tragic consequences. Commemorating the efforts and contribution that nurses give to society, the head of the Division of Nursing Education said special mention must be made of the lecturers and clinical instructors at the division who are responsible for the effective training of all categories of nursing personnel to meet the needs and demands of the ever-changing health service systems locally, regionally, and internationally. The PCR equipment, which will enable in-country testing for COVID-19, has been further delayed. This is according to Minister of Health Luke Brown during a telephone interview with SVG-TV News. The equipment should have already been in the state. However, the health minister maintains that the further delay is due to ongoing restrictions on the movement of the equipment by the U.S. authorities.
How the transportation logistics would actually work out now. The arrangements that we were depending on didn't work out. You know that there's some difficulties with the transportation of these machines and restrictions on their movement. So we thought we were going to be able to get around that, but there's still another challenge to be resolved.
The Ministry of Health has sourced PCR equipment from various companies. However, according to Minister Brown, SVG is now likely to receive 2 from the U.S., with 1 coming from the International Atomic Energy Agency, a UN organization. This, he said, will mean that SVG would have 4 PCR equipment, the other 2 expected from the Taiwanese government.
We sourced several machines, at least 2. Machines, and that does not include what Taiwan has promised to also deliver. Taiwan on Friday made the commitment of providing 2 PCR machines as well for us.
To date, more than 140 persons have been tested with PCR equipment by the Caribbean Public Health Agency in Trinidad and Tobago. 4 days after the first batch of Vincentian sailors arrived home, another 9 are expected tomorrow, May 13, 2020. This was announced by Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves on radio today. He said the Carnival Cruise Line, which is docked in Barbados, will bring the 9 Vincentian sailors home.
The Carnival has found 9 persons, 9 Vincentians on ships in Barbados, off Barbados. They had told me originally they had 112 persons. But when they finally totted up the number, they said 91, 92. So it is clear that others may well turn up here. And they want to bring those tomorrow, those 9. Well, they will come under the same protocols.
The Prime Minister said that reports of more sailors stranded at sea are now being received by SVG's High Commissioner to London, Sino Lewis, with a suggestion made of flying them home.
Ships are Discovery 3 persons, Discovery 2, 4, Explorer 12, Explorer 2, 10, Celebration 1. Total 30. My understanding, I'm continuing the letter, my understanding is that you are seeking to repatriate the Vincentian crews as soon as it is possible to obtain a flight to do so. I hope it will not be too long before that occurs. I've mentioned to you that in light of COVID-19, the repatriation of crew members to St. Vincent Grenadines is subject to specific regulations which include the cost of medical care where applicable.
Some of the sailors who returned home last Saturday on the cruise ship Carnival Glory have reportedly breached quarantine. This was also revealed today by Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves. The Prime Minister said that the reports are from different communities and the police have since taken action and placed these persons in government quarantine facilities.
People report yesterday, for instance, that somebody from Layu was walking about, and somebody also from Barley. There was somebody that said to from South Rivers. But I think the police have contacted all those individuals. People are calling in, you know.
It was only yesterday that the Prime Minister on radio reported that one person from the 22 persons who returned home from the British Virgin Islands breached quarantine and was also placed in a government-approved quarantine facility. The Prime Minister did not say if these persons who breached quarantine were charged, bearing in mind that under the new quarantine legislation, persons found guilty of the offence will be fined 2,000 EC dollars or spend 6 months in prison. The Prime Minister appealed to the returning sailors not to break the trust the government has placed in them.
I don't want these persons who are coming to our returning workers, our seafarers and the like, to really breach our trust in this way by not following the quarantine. And I'm just telling them there are people out there who are looking.
Speaking on the return home of the 92 sailors last Saturday, Opposition leader Dr. Godwin Friday said though there were much drama in the interaction with the government and the cruise ship companies, he was happy to see the sailors brought home. He was speaking during the NDP's Facebook Live program last evening.
Workers. Wonderful that they're here, and looking forward, must continue to advocate on behalf of those who are still out there, because I've seen, you know, some of the correspondence from some of the fellows there. They've been there for too long, you know, and you know, 60 days out on the ocean, not touching land. It's a long time, and it plays with the mind, and it creates a lot of anxiety, and you know, affects the mental health, the mental state. And so the sooner they get here, the better. I'm glad to hear that Royal Caribbean has actually moved up the date for the arrival of Vincentians here. You know, at one point they were saying sometime in June. Apparently it's sometime later this month that they will be returning. So that's...
The opposition leader said that he is hopeful no more drama will surface with the return of the remaining sailors, noting that he spoke with the manager of the Port Authority, who indicated that they are already preparing for the next batch of returning sailors.
We have at least had the experience of Saturday. We know how it's come. I've spoken to Mr. John, Mission John, from who has been managing the process at the port, and you know, he's indicated they've learned some things that they will apply, and I have no doubt about that, and hopefully it will go a lot more smoothly, and that it will be safe for everyone, and the family members, I'm sure, are really looking forward to seeing their loved ones. I mean, really, you know, this is the challenge here is really people, they go away, they go to work because they can't find jobs here on mainland. I mean, most people want to work, they want to be able to be with their families and so on, but they have jobs, they go out to sea, and they contribute tremendously to the economy of this country over the years. You know, in terms of the homes that they have built, looking after their children, looking after their parents, and contributing to the development of the country.
In reference to Vincentian students studying abroad who have expressed interest in returning home, the opposition leader said the government should make it possible, feasible and affordable to bring home these students.
Jamaica, some of them are in Cuba, and they have to be there, they had to be there for their studies, and now they are, you know, finished the course for the term and they want to come home. So we should make it possible, feasible, affordable for them to do so. And this is the case of the students in Jamaica has gotten a lot of national attention because of the request from the authorities, and the airline included, SLIAT, for them to pay $1,339 US for a one-way trip from Jamaica. I mean, that's just outrageous.
Dr. Friday said he is willing to raise funds to assist the students to return home as he can relate to their financial challenges.
Absolutely. You know, if we can use this platform to help to raise funds, so if that's the only way to do it, then naturally we should do so. Because I don't believe in having, you know, the students there and you know, become pawns or some part of some political drama. The thing is just get them home. And if we can use, if this platform can help to at least to raise the level of awareness about it, but also to raise funds. Other persons have talked about ways in which they could raise funds to assist them. I mean, I'd be quite willing to assist in that regard. But, you know, the students have to be, you know, request that they want to do it and so on, and that the parents, of course, I don't want to infringe on anybody's, you know, rights or feelings or anything of that sort. They want assistance, and the students have called out for assistance, those in Cuba similarly, because they're running out of supplies, and we should do all that we can to assist them.
And today on the radio, Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves announced that schools will reopen on May 25th, 2020, but only for students who will be sitting examinations offered regionally. The Minister of Education has already said that a phased reopening of schools island-wide will take place. PM Gonsalves said this also will allow the Building, Roads and General Services Authority, BRACSA, to complete work on some schools.
Education officer, she told me that they're likely to open, not on Monday, come in here for the fifth form and the CPEA and the classes, the relevant classes at the technical institutes, that they will open the 25th with the fifth forms and the CPA class and those in the technical institutes. Those who have their regional exams now. I think they're giving BRACSA a little more time to sort out some things by the schools.
The Prime Minister also announced that online registration will be implemented to avoid travel by parents from the various Grenadine islands. This, he said, will commence on Friday, May 15th, 2020.
Teachers, parents are going to be able to have their children enrolled in schools online. I think rolling that out on Friday. So if you, let us say you're up here, but you live and work in Beckway or Canawana, say Union Island, but because of the tourism downtown in those places, you come up and be back with your family, but you have a child who going into primary school. You don't have to leave and go down, take the boat and go down to Union Island just to register the child at a primary school. You can do so online.
130 Vincentian farm workers left the state today for Toronto, Canada, where they will take up jobs on various farms. Minister of Agriculture, Fisheries and Labour, Suboto Caesar, was on hand to bid farewell to the men who left on board a chartered Sunwind flight. Noting that the coronavirus pandemic created concern for the health and safety of workers, Minister Caesar said all the necessary protocols were observed and that rapid tests were conducted on the workers which yield negative results.
It is definitely different circumstances. These are farmers who have been on the program for many years. Some persons have been upwards 20 years, some persons 15 years, and some persons are going off for the fourth or fifth time. When they left, it wasn't these circumstances, there wasn't a pandemic. And in those times, what we had was an ordinary insurance coverage for different issues of ailment. However, we have decided to augment that insurance policy, and we have asked for there to be taken out an extra policy with matters touching on concerning COVID-19. So that's very important that we did that. Secondly, we have set the same standards for receiving the sailors as we are going to address for persons who are leaving for the farm workers program, because the protocols from the WHO and the ILO are very clear and they're standard. So we have asked for a rapid test for COVID-19 to be done on all persons who are leaving and all the persons who are leaving today. The tests were negative.
The Agriculture Minister also gave the assurance that the local Labour Department will keep in contact with their Canadian counterparts to keep track of the progress of the Vincentian farm workers.
We have a mantra here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines where we are saying that life and living must continue even though there is COVID-19. And it must continue, of course, following the protocols which are advised by the Ministry of Health. If you notice, everyone going on the flight, everyone here, we are wearing our face masks, and we are ensuring that persons have their packages going up to with their hand sanitizers to ensure that proper hygiene is practiced. Sunwing was chartered, and based on the protocols from the airport, no one was able to come off the aircraft to disembark. And there's another protocol that we have in place. So I just really want to wish them a safe flight and to tell their family members that we are doing our very best to ensure their safety. And the family members must also speak to them because the onus is on them as well to ensure that when they go there, that they maintain all the required standards of a human being in this pandemic.
Minister Caesar thanked the OECS Secretariat and Labour Departments throughout the OECS for the role they played in making this year's program possible and encouraged the farm workers to use the opportunity wisely.
To thank the OECS Secretariat, headquarters in St. Lucia, or the offices in Canada, and the departments of labor, not only in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, but throughout the OECS. They have been working very hard over the past 2 months to ensure that even though there's a crisis, there's a pandemic in the world, that we were able to mobilize farmers in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. We were able to work with employers in Canada and the government of Canada to ensure that today is possible.
Of their stay?
Yes, most of the persons will be going for between 6 and 8 months. I am aware that some persons are going on marijuana farms for a year and up to 2 years. So that's definitely a long period of time. And from what I'm hearing from persons who are there, especially working on the cannabis farms, that the pay is really good and that they're able to save their monies and to contribute to the remittances coming to their family members. So I really want to encourage them to work hard and to save their monies so that they can be in good stead upon their return to St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
And government continues to undertake preparatory works in anticipation of the construction of new port facilities in capital Kingstown. In December 2019, the Board of Directors of the Caribbean Development Bank, the CDB, approved financing for this project. The first phase will include the construction of new cargo port facilities, the rerouting of an existing sewage-lined and associated roadworks. And from tomorrow, Wednesday, May 13, 2020, vendors on the seawall who are being permanently impacted will begin to receive compensation. Earlier this year, Cabinet approved a sum of $275,000 EC dollars to compensate the 60 vendors who are plying their trade on the seawall prior to March 31st, 2019. A news release from the Ministry of National Security says of today, May 12, 2020, 11 vendors have complied with the requirements to remove their structure, and they will accordingly receive their compensation package of EC $4,500 each. The compensation marks provision for 3 months income support of $715 per month, in addition to amounts for the value of their structure removal allowance and timely removal bonus. 34-year-old Dale Doyle, also known as Fidel, lost his life in a motorcycle accident on the Bible Public Road yesterday afternoon. According to the police, a chauffeur from Cedars was traveling towards Georgetown on motorcycle PW 177, a black and white Ninja bike, when he lost control of the said motorcycle and collided with an electrical pole in the vicinity of the Bible Bridge. He was pronounced dead on the scene by the district medical officer. Some of his colleagues in Bible, who were a short distance away from the accident site, said that they saw him pass by on his motorcycle after leaving work and was sad to learn of his death.
See me, I make a love for him, sir, because I know him for a long time too, you understand? And he really shocked everybody to see when the thing happened this up, you understand? Because we never been looking for that. You understand? Because we got some sleep on the bike already with the bike, and you understand, the sound upstairs coming away and fall him up. Yeah, he passed yesterday and reach out, he fall up going out there, the bike start dancing to him. He try to control the bike, but the bike gave me a pace. So like, he couldn't get control the bike like he was control the bike. Understand? He's a vehicle man. Because I ride and drive for a long time. For a long time, he do that for a long time, for never since. He not now coming to the for a long time.
I knew him since my wife and I came here from Canada, really, and met where he worked. I used to drive a van. I used to drive around and distribute like food for the poor home or the American home. So with the business, the lady he used to work for.
One guy who went to school with Doyle said that he was now started a family and was a disciplined and motivated young man.
If I'm down sometimes and I meet him and I ask him for something and he will give it to me anyway once he can afford it to give to me. So before that, when I saw him when he passed with the van to go and cry food down for lunch. Man, he don't really be talking this much anyway, because where he live, we live different. But when we meet, we have conversation and we greet one another as brethren, as friends, and whatsoever may be the case anyway.
Doyle's death marks a third road fatality for the year 2020.